moved to Miami, no sphere of influence, no referral network. So I had to do something different. Client that's a $40,000 rental that will then turn into a 12 to $15 million buyer, a $4.50 lead. It's just turned into $22,000 for the rental and $400,000 for the buyer. It works.
How much are you actually making per hour?
$733 an hour per month on average, $9,000 to $12,000 under contract.
You have a full-time, 40-hour week job. How many hours do you think you're devoting to real estate every single week now?
Weekly, maybe 12 to 15 hours. You need the small wins along the way to feel like you're actually doing something. This set that path to be able to do that.
Hey, Austin, you were struggling in real estate when I met you 2 months ago. Fast forward 60 days later, you've gotten under contract, 9 deals. You've brought in almost $20,000 in commission doing rentals part-time. Can you talk a little bit about your journey in the past 2 months?
Yeah, so it's been a fun journey under contract about a deal a week. So, and it's our average deal size is between like 1,900 to 2,200. So almost $2,000. So it's around $18,000 and stuff that I've got in commission in about 60 days.
Oh, that's absolutely mind-blowing. Did this save your real estate career? Like, were you going to quit real estate if something didn't change 2 months ago?
Yeah, I just quit. It's just like I was frustrated because I always wanted to, get real estate up and running. And, I'd been doing real estate for about a year and a half. I'd closed a handful, like 3 or 4 deals, but I feel like when you have a sales background like I do, you enjoy making those sales. And 3 or 4 deals over a year and a half is a deal, like a deal every 3 months or every 4 months. And it's not it doesn't you don't feel like you're doing a lot, and you need something, I guess to call it what it is. You need those dopamine hits to feel like you're progressing and all that kind of stuff too. So now doing having somebody under contract every week makes all the difference in the world, and it feels like I'm learning more. I'm learning my market. I've only been in Miami for about 3 years. I'm learning, so I'm progressing, and I feel like I'm growing as a person with all this too. So everything is finally starting to align, all just from doing some rentals that nobody really wanted to do. One of the things that really stuck with me when me and you first sat down is everybody's waiting, especially when you get into real estate, everybody's waiting on these big commissions for your buyers and sellers. And, if you lose one because people are losing stuff all the time, like left and right on things, it's a lot easier to lose it when a big one hits, a 50, $20,000 one hits. That's a big loss. But if you lose one rental, it's only 2,200. If you've got 3 or 4 other ones lined up, it's not the end of the world. And you don't get so like bogged down because of it, because there's a lot of time, effort, and energy that goes into a buyer, and there's effort, time, effort, and energy that goes into a rental as well. But a $2,000 is a lot different than a $20,000.
It's very true. Yeah, because you're going to lose deals. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. I've found that the percentage of deals lost is a lot lower on the rental side just because there's so much less that can go wrong on a rental deal compared to a house sale. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's, the pre-approval, there's the loan commitment, there's the appraisal, the inspection, there's a million things that can happen. I had a crazy thing where I had a seller of a property actually get arrested the day before we're about to close on the property, and he was in jail during a hurricane down in Florida, so they couldn't get the closing documents to him in time. The buyer, it was my buyer, ended up backing out because he was getting cold feet anyways, and kind of used that as an excuse because he didn't actually want the property. He ended up saying, don't want the property, and use that to back out of the whole entire deal. Like, you literally cannot make these kind of things up, but that doesn't really happen for rental deals. Like, I have never experienced anything like that before where somebody is going to like magically back out of a deal beforehand because they always put a month in escrow. So at least you have your commission there waiting for you, even if it does happen that way. So that's why I really love that aspect of it. So again, I just want to talk about the beginning of your journey, because I know that we met, back in, I think it was end of February. So, or no, end of January. So it's been about February, March. So it's been about 2 months since we actually met and sat down for lunch that day. So can you just go over your first 2 months? Like, how many deals did you get under contract? What's your average commission? How many, deals basically have you done from the rental leads that we got together back 2 months ago?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, there's been a lot. So there's been around 9 deals under contract over the past 2 months. And then, first couple of weeks are literally just like You got like because real estate's for me a part-time thing in the evenings, just watching the videos, setting up the things around Facebook, and then just getting like trying to just understand this and go through the processes. And then it's you know, you do some and then you figure this out, then you're learning the responses and you have what to say to people, how to break this down, you know, to get people to go do showings and then the rent spree and then all that kind of stuff too. So you like that's like the first like week or two, and then you know within the first I think like 7 or 8 days I had some on the Facebook ones, and then it was starting to do showings the very next weekend. So and then it you know you teach, hey, this is how you set up your day, this is what you need to do, this is when you need to make the phone calls, this is when you need to follow up, and then just really implementing the processes that you teach really helps break everything down. And then so it started to be like I would set up my days where, you know, Mondays and Tuesdays I would do I would do showings Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday, Saturday, just so I'm not, you know, because I've got another job, real estate's a part-time thing, and I would have to learn like time management and all that kind of stuff too. So that was a lot of it. And then, you know, you just kind of hit the ground running, and then you give people, you live, you learn, and you know, you just go through the motions, and it, you know, you do a really good job of teaching like this is probably what they're going to say. This is what a landlord's going to expect. These are all those things. So it helps out so much.
You've gotten under contract about, what was it, 9 deals in your first 2 months?
Correct. 9 deals around average, I would say like it's like two to $2,200 that will be total commission on all the payouts. Some people haven't moved in yet, some people like that. So it just, it's not, they're not all clean and clear, but we're working toward just because some people still have to move in. But yeah.
So that would be about $19,800 in commission. So you've basically gotten under contract $20,000 doing real estate part-time in your first 2 months. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Wow, that is literally madness because when you started real estate a year and a half, you weren't really doing that many deals. Can you just talk a little bit about, before I met you for your first year and a half?
Yeah, so I had a partner was working with some things, and then we were doing got into this and was doing some buyer and seller leads, and I did, you know, I think we did like four, like 3 or 4 deals in the first year and a half. I was giving up a lot of commission to do all that, and so I wanted something that was going to be a little bit more steady, and I want to take real estate to, you know, a different level. I want to make it to a full-time thing, but I wasn't going to give up what I had or consistent income just to, you know, jump into real estate like a lot of people do. So you know, I saw this, we had a conversation, and then that's where I jumped in with the rentals. And then you know, in out of those 3 or 4 deals that I closed in my first year and a half, you know, that's a deal every 2 months or every 3 months, and that's just kind of demoralizing. And then so now it's 9 deals under contract, so it's about a deal every week that I'm doing. So it makes it, it just, it keeps it fresh, it keeps it in there, like, you know, like you're excited to get up and do this because it makes it to where it's like you see the results and you see what your actions and stuff are doing, because it helps out a lot.
That's the coolest part because you're celebrating victory after victory. Your momentum is like building. Do you feel that like you're scaling over time? Because you said in the first like week or two, you were basically learning everything. And if you think about it from that aspect, you actually did more deals quicker because you were learning for the first couple weeks. So do you feel like it's like scaling and like building every single month?
Yeah, I definitely think it'll start to take off even more, just because it's still learning. It's still fresh. It's still new. Like I've still got a lot to learn. I've, you know, you know, doing real estate for a year and a half, I wasn't even taught a whole lot. Now I'm learning contracts and doing a lot of things, a lot of stuff I could have done a lot better job with, but now I'm really diving in and really doing the majority of it all on my own. But yeah, so this will be, it'll get to where it's probably 2 deals a week easy in the next 30, 45 days. It'll be easy where it's 2 deals a week.
You still do it at part time, which is the craziest part. So I want you to talk a little bit about these deals that you're working on. Like on average, how much time do you think that you would spend per deal? Because me personally, I've gotten it down to now 2 hours per deal. I know it might take you a little bit of, experience to get to that point, but what's your experience been on the amount of time per deals you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the majority of it in the very beginning after meeting the client, it's 30, probably 30 minutes going through picking out what they want and then sending that over and then having them go through go through what they like, what they don't like, and then sending over the Rentspree and then getting everything put together. But I mean, I would say on average 3 hours for me, just because depending on where the client is and going and showing property and then just narrowing searches down to make sure it's, hey, listen, let's find 3 to 5 properties that you like. And, because a lot of times there'll be a lot of clients that will say, I want to see this one, this one, this one. And, you do a good job of teaching, like, hey, let's narrow that down. Let's get it down to your top 3 or 5, and then let's go see it. And then we'll make a decision from there.
And like most agents don't do that. Most agents spend like 10 to 20 hours, which I mean, the average house sale takes 20 hours. If you're working with a buyer or a seller, it's 20 plus hours of work on average. And rentals, 2 or 3 hours. That's it. And and you'll get it down from 3 hours to 2 hours within your next couple months, probably like as you perfect this and get a little bit better. But think about it. You can do, and you're literally doing the same amount of deals, actually more than when you were working with the sales in the exact same amount of time because you're doing like 5 deals every single month right now, which is crazy if you break down the actual math and numbers like dollars per hour. If you're working 3 hours per deal and you're making about 2,200 bucks, how much are you actually making per hour?
Man, I've never even done the math on that. So let's look. 2,200 divided by three, $733 an hour.
You're making $733 an hour from working with rentals. Did you ever think when you got into real estate that would ever be something you would ever be able to like say and put out there in the universe?
No, I mean, I figured that wouldn't be like that. You think about buyers and sellers, if you were to break it down like that, you got to be doing 30, 40 million to get like that. And, you're doing that with like rentals, and the rentals are, rentals, everybody's renting right now. Everybody's renting. And so it's like, I feel like it's like you find the ones, you work through them and you find out what works best for you. And then it just works. It's easy. It's not easy, but it's a easier process because people know what they want. It's just an easier process.
Not as intensive as working with a buyer because you've worked with a couple buyers, before I even met you. Why don't you compare that experience of working with these buyers? Because, well, you weren't, I remember you weren't even doing all the work. You had your partner kind of doing the contract and helping you out there. But like, what was that experience working with the buyers compared to renters?
It's a little bit easier because they know they're doing this for a year, maybe 2 years. This isn't, a 5, 10 year, 15 or buying their forever home. So there's a lot less emotion put into it. With renters, it's, hey, listen, I'm moving to Miami. I'm doing this. I'm moving from place to place. This is what I'm looking for. Find me this. All right, cool. Here are the top 3 to 5 that we just found. When do you want to go see these? And it's a lot easier because the emotion is not as high because this isn't a 30-year mortgage. This is a year. I got to live here for a year, and then either the following year I'm buying, and I'm ready for them when they're buying, or they need to rent for 2 years, or they're just moving here, whatever the cases may be. So it makes it just a little bit less of a headache because there's not so much emotion involved in it.
Yeah, and like I always just like to say, a lot less that can go wrong on these rental deals, which is pretty incredible. So let's talk a little bit about because I know your actual profit margins are super high because you're getting a lot of your leads for free using the Facebook strategy. Like I teach, I don't even know, like dozens of different strategies. I think you're mainly just using the Facebook strategy now. You haven't even tapped into the apartment strategy. You haven't tapped into the rental listing strategy yet. You're literally just doing my MLS Facebook strategy so far, and you're having these insane results. Um, Talk a little bit about that, and then talk a little bit about the paid leads that we were kind of creating and doing together with I think it was something like what $4.50 or what did you mention? Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the Facebook strategy, it works. It's just finding the right properties and posting properties that are going to be, crucial for everybody. And so that it definitely works. It's easy. It's you take your time, you go through, you find the right things, you have your video set up on, hey, you can post these, you cannot post these, and you're rich with rentals. You have all the modules to be able to talk about, hey, this is how you do it. You can do it 10, 15 minutes, and then within 10, 15 minutes, after it's posted, typically you wait a day, and then the next day, if you're posting good ones, then you got people that are like, hey, I want to go see this, I want to go see this, I want to go see this. So it's super easy. So that's
Leads.
yeah, you got free leads coming in, and everybody talks about leads, 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 and you teach how to do it. So it's super, super beneficial.
Yeah, and then what about the paid stuff now?
Paid stuff that me and you're doing has been it's really starting to take off. Average price point on these leads are a little bit higher, but for us it's only $4.50 something a lead. And so, to be able to get pay $4.50 for a lead, and then have, like the lead that I had that came in for the client, that's a $40,000 rental that will then turn into a buyer within a year, maybe two, but probably only a year, would be a 12 to $15 million buyer. It works. Like we figured this out. We know how it works. And a $4.50 lead is just turned into $22,000 for the rental, and probably $400,000 for the buyer over 2 years. It's for $4.50, it works.
So cool because I had a similar experience, not even that high. Like I did a $20,000 rental. This was actually crazy. It was a Facebook marketplace lead I got. So it wasn't even like a paid lead. And he rented a $6,000 property with me. And then a year later rented a $20,000 property. And I thought that was a lot because I made 10 grand in commission. You're talking about you got, for $4.50, you got a $40,000 rental, $20,000 commission. And then he bought a $3.4 million home with me, and I made 85 grand on that one deal. But you're going to make even more because you got a lead that's going to buy a $12 million home and you're going to make $400,000. So, like, everybody discounts the whole fact that, rentals are a waste of time. It's not going to get you anywhere. Might as well work with the buyers and sellers, but nobody accounts for the future deals. Nobody accounts that you can do big rental deals, and nobody accounts for the volume aspect. Like even you, because you said before you did 9 deals under contract at about $2,200 in commission. So added up over the last 2 months, how much under contract have you gotten in rentals?
And like total, like around 18 to $20,000.
To $20,000 under contract in rentals in 2 months.
Correct.
I don't think people understand that. Doing 9 deals, working 3 hours per deal, like $730 per hour. Like agents don't grasp this. They don't get it. They see this big shiny check. And that's what you did for the first year and a half of your career. You just went after the buyers and sellers. You didn't even know. Wait, did you even know like rentals were a thing back then?
When I moved to Miami, I knew I was a renter, but I never even thought to even try to tackle that. I would just, like, oh, it's real estate, buyers and sellers. And then it wasn't until, like I said, me and you had that conversation. It's like, have you ever done rentals? And I was like, no, like, and I was like, that's where like I said, we did 3 or 4 deals in that first year and a half. And then I was like, I moved to Miami, no sphere of influence, no referral network. So I had to do something different. And this is where I feel like when there's more people renting right now, and then less people buying and selling just because of everything that's going on, so much volatility in the market, but everybody has to rent. So that's when you told me that, it just the dots connected, and then it all made sense.
And like even before when I know because some agents are on a team, like you were on a team, like how much you said you were giving away a lot of your commission, right? Like how much were you giving away?
Yeah, I mean, we had a deal structured, but I was doing 50%. So it was given away a lot between the brokerage splits and everything. That's what it ended up being. So now, having to do all this, it's like it's now me doing everything and all that kind of stuff too. And then joining EXP just helped out a lot.
So you went from giving 50% of your commission check away, doing 3 or 4 deals in a year and a half, to now what? Keeping 100% of your commission and doing 9 deals in 2 months. Is that right?
Correct.
Wow. 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 So if you can go back in time and start your career over again a year and a half ago, what would you do different?
I mean, I would have jumped into renters right away, just because now all those people that were then rented a year and a half ago, maybe they don't like the place that they're in. They need to rent again. Or so that's repeat business. I feel like one of those would have turned into from a renter to a buyer at this point too. So definitely would have started with rentals a little bit earlier on.
You think you would have made like quicker cash right away?
Oh, 1,000%.
I know you want to leave your full-time job you have now and go into real estate, full-time instead of doing real estate part-time. What do you think it's going to take for you to do that?
Oh goodness. I'd probably have to get to where like 30, if I was doing 30 grand a month just straight from real estate, then I would feel comfortable being able to leave the other job to come and just do real estate. So
You're making a killing your full-time job, yet you still got into real estate doing this rental system part-time, and you're catching up pretty quick. Like, how much are you making per month now? Like give or take, like how much you under contract now per month?
Per month on average, I would say nine to $12,000 under contract.
So, and would you say, because you have a full-time, 40-hour week job, how many hours do you think you're devoting to real estate every single week now?
Oh goodness, weekly, maybe 12 to 15 hours.
So 12 to 15 hours to make, what is that broken down? It's about 2,500. We'll just say about 25. So $2,500 a week to work like 12 to 15 hours. That is pretty mind blowing for the average agent out there to hear something like that. So if you do this full time, I mean, you're going to be working three times as much. And then, yeah, you'll be making 30 grand. So oh, okay. So you're just basically going to have to take the leap of faith, eventually, or just work like crazy hours in real estate. But it on the same path that you're on now, you're think about it, right? Because if you do three times the amount of hours and you're making about 10 grand a month right now, you can actually make $30,000 a month if you devote real estate full time right now.
Yeah, I probably could. So it's that with everything that's going on. But yeah, definitely that could definitely happen.
Oh, dude, that's absolutely awesome. Like, I really loved your journey and your story. I remember when I met you back in, I think, it was like whatever, beginning of February, end of January, about 2 months ago. You were kind of like lost in real estate a little bit. You didn't know which direction you wanted to go in. You were getting frustrated. You were giving away 50% of your commission. Like, you weren't closing that many deals. Like, I think you said that you were at the point where you might quit real estate, because you had a good 40-hour a week job already. I was already paying you a lot of money. Why did you get into real estate, and like why did you continue going, when you met me?
I've got a huge sales background, done sales for a long time, and 3% buyers and sellers at $1 million is a lot bigger commission than what most jobs and stuff will pay. So that's why I got into it to begin with. And then obviously when you do three or four deals over the course of a year and a half, it's like I'm doing this, but like I'm not really doing this. So I needed to find something that was going to allow me to when you get into sales, like, yeah, hitting that big ticket is one thing, but you also need a little bit of the small wins along the way to feel like you're actually doing something. And this is really, set that path to be able to do that. So, doing, under contract about a deal a month or a deal a week now really helps. I'm still helping people. I'm still doing the thing that I enjoy about that, but it keeps it fresh and it keeps everything like, top frame of mind with me.
I love hearing that because that was the goal when I started teaching agents was I wanted agents to replicate my quick and fast successes. Like in the past 5 years, I've closed over 900 deals, 550 solo deals, and another like 400 deals with my team, which just blew me away. And now I'm training agents just like you to beat me. I want agents to be able to do more deals than me, make more money than me. And I was making $500,000 a year just from being a solo real estate agent, closing 250 deals every single 360 days. And I know for certain that you can beat that. You have, the motivation, you got the passion, you love learning, and you're good at communicating. Those are the skill sets that are needed to be an effective real estate agent in this housing market right now in 2025, where we have the lowest pending home sales ever in the history of real estate. I mean, the market is literally crashing right now. Nobody's buying homes, nobody's selling homes on average. Obviously, deals are still happening occasionally. Like I just got a deal under contract, for 400 or $550,000, but overall in general it's 100% renters market, 4 million house sales per year, but there's 45 million rentals per year. That means there's a 10-to-1 ratio of renters to buyers. I capitalized on that. You capitalized on that. There are agents out there that are like struggling right now that just cannot get a deal done, that can't see this bigger picture. What's your advice to them?
I think a lot of times maybe, especially with the real estate, you got into it, looking for the big deal and like the big swing and, to hit it over the fence. And, maybe the rentals don't seem sexy. I think that's what people look for is the sexy, million, $2, $3 million to make the one big commission check. And I feel like, especially if you're brand new, like take the sexiness out of it, learn as much as you can, and learn your market, learn whatever it is that you're doing and where you're at. And you get a lot more of that by doing rentals because it's a lot more volume, but then it helps you understand. So when that buyer does come along, the school systems, or in Miami, the building, the HOA, everything that's going to, pertain to what's going on. So it will actually help you in the long run.
100% agree. Well, Austin, thank you so much for coming on. This was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, hear your story, going from an agent that was working in real estate for a year and a half, closing a handful of deals, giving away 50% of your commission, and then basically doing my rental system, Richard Rentals, part-time, and now making $10,000 a month. All pure upside, pure profit. Most of the leads you're getting are free, correct? That's most of the leads are free, and then some are paid for, but $4.50. How could you put a price tag on that? You're making what, like 8 to 10 times ROI, per lead that you're getting, which is, mind blowing when you add everything up, because nobody focuses on this. Literally, you don't have any competition. The market's not been saturated for rentals yet. That's why this works so effectively, because you're basically one of the very few people doing this in your area right now, because everybody thinks it's taboo to do rental deals. So again, thank you so much for coming on. Any last words you want to give to any agent out there that is kind of like, struggling in real estate, might be giving up or maybe doing it part-time? Any closing words?
Keep going. It's not, the breakthrough will happen. You just got to, sometimes you got to keep going.
You think they have to, what do you think they have to focus on?
Focus on the process and focus on the systems. So, because at the end of the day, like when you start going through it, like there's gonna be hiccups, there's gonna be bumps, there's gonna be like all that kind of stuff too. So, create a system, and just keep going, keep going, keep going, and then just focus on what you can control.
Awesome. Austin, thank you so much for coming on, and I'll catch everybody next time.